This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm here with Jason Roberts and Rachel Schneider. They're from St. Louis, Missouri, and they are some incredible teachers and have an incredible boot camp coming up. We're going to talk about who they are and what they're doing, and I don't know. It's always fascinating to see some of the numbers that people put up, and then to figure out how they're doing it. And they put up some numbers. But before we do that, I got to pay homage to my sponsor, taxfreefuture.com. If you do not have a tax-deferred or tax-free savings account or retirement account, you have no idea the size of the tool that you are missing in your tools belt. It is phenomenal. And you won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. We're going to tell you what they're not telling you. We're going to tell you why they're not telling you. And then you can proceed at will how you want to, but I'm pretty sure that you will have a tax-deferred or tax-free account in your future. Taxfreefuture.com. Give us the little micro information there. Promise we won't beat you up every day or with a bunch of random bullshit. And then you can watch the 37 little video vignettes there and look at what you can really do with these accounts. And you don't have to start with a lot of money. That's the biggest clue in those whole things. You can start with nothing and be big in an account where you can only put so much per year in. Well, there's always a way, isn't there, Jason and Rachel?
That's right.
All right. So with no further ado, Jason, Rachel, give us a little background, the bullet points, because I got a lot I want to talk to you about. So give us the background. How did you end up, doing all these properties, and just give us some background.
Man, I guess it kind of happened on accident. Rachel and I opened a business in 2001, a mortgage company, and we built that company up really big. At one point, we had close to 100 employees. We're doing millions of dollars a year in revenue, and then 2007 hit, and brought us to our knees, man. I mean, within probably 90 to 120 days, we were down to 8 or 9 employees. We went from making millions of dollars to losing 60, 70, 80 grand a month after month after month after month, to the point, that brought us 2.5 years really of losing money like that, because it didn't recover. It didn't really rebound. The loan products that were there before weren't there anymore.
That's heartbreaking too, because you have those people, they're loyal, and you don't want to let them go. You have an infrastructure. You're thinking, it took me so long to get all this in order, like you don't. So I understand holding on, but sometimes, and because this is a podcast of lessons, sometimes when the writing's on the wall, you just take your loss and shut quick, because
hindsight is 20/20, man. We would have drove off with a truck full of cash. We had good reserves. We weren't spending beyond our means.
But you know what it says about y'all? It says about you that your relationships and your loyalty to people is more important than your money, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I know that's why you didn't do it. I don't even know you that well, but I know that someone to do that has to care about the people that they're working with and thinking about their families and what are they going to do, and so you're over there writing checks out of your in the negative because you're the kind of people that you are. So hats off to you for that.
I appreciate that, and it was like a family for us. I mean, we were working 12-hour days, and so were all those, the mortgage business is a grind. And I mean, we spent more time with those people than we did our own families. So it was exactly that. I lost my own home to foreclosure, car repo, the whole bit. I mean, it was as bad as it gets.
One of these days, maybe I can interview you on the psychology of that if you're up for it, because I know it's probably embarrassing. But I wrote a whole book, My Life in 1,000 Houses: Failing Forward to Financial Freedom, where I wrote about every time I fell down and why and got back up. And everyone asked me, like, "You sure you want to tell people all this stuff?" And I say, "Well, it's the truth, And I think that's where the real meat is everyone can get up there and show you big checks and everything. Who's going to show you the horrible parts of this business, and like how do you deal with them before they break your legs?
Right.
You need to know what's coming, maybe coming, or so these things don't come. So right. Maybe we could talk sometime on that psychology, because I find the thing that people relate to most, they're the most vocal about, is when you talk about your time in the woods. because that's everyone's pain is very real to them, and some people might be in that pain like right now. You know what I mean? So
Exactly right.
So all right, so you had this mortgage company. The recession comes, everything goes to hell in the handbasket, bankruptcy, foreclosure, all that. Then what?
Man, we ended up at a 4-day short sale boot camp. It was the one and only time that this guy, we had started doing some loan modifications for our mortgage clients that couldn't pay. And just as quick as the loan mods worked, the banks got all that TARP money and they were giving people loan modifications. And then just like the mortgage business, overnight, nobody could get approved for a loan mod again. And just kind of on a whim, we got an email or something. I didn't even know the guy teaching the class, but it was free. And
we were broke.
And we were broke. Yeah. So, I mean, if it would have been $1,000, I couldn't have paid to go to it. I mean, it was that bad.
So you're going through this process of knowing you have to reinvent yourself, right? I've reinvented myself like three, maybe 4 times in my life.
Yep.
But the first time you're doing it out of necessity, you really don't know that's what you're doing. Like the second and third time, it's like, okay, it's time to reinvent myself. I already know how this works. I open all the doors. I go through all the windows. I do everything. And I find something. Or I morph to it, right? So you're reinventing yourself. You go to this what was it? Tax.
It was a short sale boot camp. It was just a 4-day boot camp strictly on short sales, and I don't even know that we really knew what a short sale was. But exactly like you said about the reinvent yourself, I don't know that we knew that we were doing that either. I think it was out of desperation, man. I mean, I think it was, what are we going to do? We're not going to go back to corporate America. We're not going to go back and take a 9 to 5. I don't think that was in either of our hearts to do, but we didn't know what we were going to do. I mean, we were lost. It was a.
There's also a lot of freedom at the bottom, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
What can they can't kill me. So what, you know what I mean? Like,
can't get any worse. Yeah.
Can't get any worse than this. So, what the hell?
Yep. That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right. So you went to the thing. So obviously it got your attention.
Yeah, absolutely got our attention. And we took that blueprint and completely ran with it. And you brought up something so incredible that we didn't know we were reinventing ourselves, and we were at the bottom. So we were so desperate. We were willing to put in whatever it required of us in order to make this successful, because going to a 9 to 5 was not an option for us.
Fear is a terrific motivator, isn't it?
Best motivator.
It'll make you work 18 hours a day and not even complain.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just show me a light at the end of the tunnel. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care what it takes. I'll get there. As long as it's legal and we're not anybody.
Amazing what we can figure out when you need to eat.
Oh yeah.
Backs against the wall.
Yeah. That was.
That's the one thing. A lot of people, the human body is the most adaptable thing in the world. If you get it in a corner, a really big corner, it'll come out and figure it out. If you won't let the fear paralyze you. I don't want to go over it again because I've talked about it a lot, but I had that happen in my life. I put myself in those corners to make myself get to another level. Like I cut things off and say, okay, you can't anymore. And now what are you going to do? You little wimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So that was 2010, and we really took that blueprint that we had received there and we followed it completely. And then from our mortgage background, we were really known in that industry for doing things differently. We were always kind of ahead, right? When we got into it was the big refinance boom after 9/11. And we knew that wouldn't last forever. So we thought, how do we get these real estate agents, right? So we started really doing some creative, unique, out of the box marketing strategies to bring agents to us. So we would have all these buyer leads, right? And so we took what we learned at that short sale wealth boot camp and then put our marketing spin on it. And in 2011, we closed over 100 houses.
Our very first year.
Our very first year in investing, we closed over 100 houses and right at like $3.6 million. So we hustled. We worked very, very hard for that. And we were digging ourselves right out of this enormous hole because we had nothing.
See, this is what I find incredible is because, and always somewhere right down the street is someone, a faster gunslinger, a better shot, whatever, someone who's doing more. But that being said, I bought a house about every 4 to 5 days, which is about 100 houses a year for 22 years. And there's not a lot of people that can do that. Now, somewhere there's a guy doing 2,000. I already know that. I don't know who they are, but I'm sure there is, because there always is. Yeah. I'm just saying, 100 houses a year is a hell of a feat.
You're moving.
No matter who you are, no matter where you are. One of the reasons, though, you were able to do that, I know for a fact, was because it was the recession and you had put 2 and 2 together. I'm going to guess that you had private funds somewhere, or you had some kind of access to some major funding, because you said you were broke and then you did 100 houses. So where did the money come from?
Yeah. So the first job that we ever had, I started there when I was 18, worked there for 2 or 3 years. Rachel also worked there, was a collection agency in St. Charles, in Missouri, where we're from. And we excelled there. We did really well there. And then at 21, I left and opened the mortgage company, and Rachel came too. So the guy that owned that collection agency, we stayed in touch with, and we had a good relationship with him. He knew what happened to us in the wipeout. He knew that the mortgage business went under. He always had a lot of respect for us, because we were one of the only people that quit and then didn't come and ask for our job back 6 months later. We actually went out and made it. And our very first deal that we got was a short sale approval that we could buy for 80, and we had a buyer at 120. But I had probably a 350 credit score. I had just filed Chapter 7 bankrupt. I had a $500,000 deficiency judgment from my house that went to auction. I had nobody was going to touch me with a 10-foot pole, or at least I thought. And I didn't know about hard money lending. I didn't know about REIAs. I didn't know about any of these resources, podcasts. I didn't know about any of these education places. We just learned how to do short sales. We didn't learn how to get the money. We didn't learn any of that. And so I called John, the guy that owned that collection agency, and I said, hey, I got this house I can buy for 80. I've already got it sold for 120, but I don't have the 80. And he said, how about we split the profit 50-50? And that sounded fantastic to me.
50% of a number is way better than 50% of zero, right? And right. I try to teach that to people. Some people are so hung up on, like, I'm giving away half my deal. I said, well, you're going to have no deal if you split around. Yeah. If you do enough half deals, you can eventually start doing deals on your own and everything. But
that was exactly our thought.
And so my thought on the thing was, like, there's the people that you go to that are 50-50. Maybe you don't make the first call to them next time. Maybe you look for someone to borrow the money, but you got them right there. You're always trying to up your game. Maybe the next person loans you money at 12%, and then you got enough of that 12% money, you start talking. I never try to switch people's deal. Whatever they're in at, that's what they're at, right?
That's right.
You look like a back trader if you or you look greedy if you try to switch a deal. It's just the new people that come in your life, you're offering the new offer.
Exactly right.
Work your way to where you want to be. Very smart though. True entrepreneurship. It's common sense to you and to me, but it's a lot of people. It doesn't come that easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these are good to hear. So how many deals you do with that guy?
We all 111 of them we did with him.
Yeah.
But not on the 50-50 split. We 50-50 split the first 3. And then we went and had a face-to-face meeting and said, hey, John, he knew our track record. He knew we did well with the mortgage business. He knew we were trustworthy. And we said, hey, we really want to turn this into a business, but you're a businessman too. You know that we can't turn this into a business with a 50% margin. I mean, we need to hire staff. We need employees. We need to delegate some things if we're going to grow it.
He was happy.
And he was totally in agreement with that. And he said, that's exactly what you just described is what happened. We had that conversation. He said, how about 12%? No, I'm sorry.
No.
First, it was 3 points a month.
Yes.
3 points a month was where we went. So we went from 50-50 to 3 points a month, which is essentially 36% annual interest, which is still significantly less.
You're flipping, right? You're flipping.
Yeah, we're in and out. We're in and out. And
so I want everyone to hear that. It was 36% interest on the face of it, an annual interest rate, 3 points per month. But when you're in and out of deals in 60, 90, or 0 days, I mean, some of the deals you did right, you probably had an hour between closings, you know what I mean? So it's not the cost of the money, it's the availability of the money. And don't be fooled. Some interest rates could seem really high, but if you're not going to have the money that long, it doesn't matter.
And doing the deal is all that matters.
That's right.
At the end of the day, doing the deal.
And that the deal makes a profit, you know?
We went from paying 20 grand on a $40,000 profit deal to $6,000 on a $40,000 profit deal. So we dramatically improved our situation, even though it was still 36% annual. Who cares? I mean, we made $34,000 on a $40,000 deal, you know?
And this guy got to be happy because he's like getting extra checks all the time. Pretty damn passive. I mean, maybe he has to get on the phone and transfer some money, you know, but I mean, the cool thing, he was wealthy, obviously. He was wealthy, right? I mean, so the cool thing of what I've learned about wealthy people, maybe you can confirm. They're very quick studies, and once they do something with you, they're like all in. They can almost overwhelm you sometimes. You know, the smart people, they might spend a little time researching, talking, getting the lawyer's advice, maybe talking to the CPA or whatever. But when they pull the trigger, they don't look back. They just like, all right, how much? My guy said to me one time after courting me for like 90 days, said, all right, I'm in. I said, okay, how much you want to get out? He was Cuban. He said, you can't get out enough money. I did 100. I tried to find out if he had a bottom. I did 150 deals that year.
Wow, that's amazing.
With my partner Sam Madrid, and we never hit bottom.
Never hit the bottom. No. Yeah.
Gosh, that's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the ones that really rink-a-dink around and everything, the smart business people, when they decide, they don't worry anymore. They just.
That's right. I think those first 3 deals we did with him was his test to see if we really knew what we were doing. And once he knew that we knew, he never looked at another HUD.
Apropos is that it's always they put their little finger in for a little bit. They check out the paper. They see if the payments come how they're supposed to come. They see if everything you told them is the way you told them.
That's right.
And if it is,
yep.
Katie barred the door, right? So.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what are we doing today? Or I'm sorry. Is there more to this? I mean, so that's where you found. That's where you reinvented yourself. Now you are reinvented. You're not worrying about money anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm worried about how much of it can I get.
I think a big lesson in that, and you know, something that I would like to share with anybody that's listening is, you know, we always teach that we always taught that there's 3 steps to building a business. One is you need a recipe or blueprint. Number 2, you need to take massive action. Number 3, you need to follow in the footsteps of other successful people, mentor, coach, podcast, whatever. You know what I mean? Learn from the people who are actually doing. And there's a 4th one, and that 4th one is called having a vision for what you want your life and your business to look like. And we didn't do that in the mortgage business. We were a slave to that business. We served that business. It did not serve us.
How true is that? Because you can own a business that's worse than your job.
Yeah.
It is. That's exactly what it was. It was cool because we owned the business, but it owned us. I mean, I worked less because
you were making a ton of money. But then the downside of it is you're the owner of this business, and you also own the downside, and you owned it all the way to the bottom at one point. Right?
And not only that, I mean, you can make a ton of money, but if you're alienating your family and your friends and your husband and your wife and your children because you're working 60 hours a week, then what good is the money? Because at the end of the road, they're not going to be there anymore. You know what I mean? People are only going to stick around for so long while you neglect them. And so many business owners do that. And you know, I had a guy cross my path that said, Jason, it's really interesting that, you know, you and Rachel can figure out how to build these businesses and you're super successful. Whatever you put your mind to comes to fruition. But what would be really cool is if you could figure out how to make the same amount of money, but only work 3 or 4 hours a day instead of 12 hours a day. Anybody can make a lot of money if they want to work 12 hours a day. And
so I've heard about the 4-hour work week and that stuff. Rachel, look me straight in the eyes. Is this bullshit? The 4 hours a day, whatever. Tell me.
No, I take I have a 9-year-old. I take her to school every day and I pick her up every day. And I'm about 40 miles from where our office is. So the few days that I do come into the office, that's my schedule. And when I'm at home, I either have my youngest one with me or I'm doing something that's serving me more than the work.
So I've always had a challenge with that balance. At one point in my life, I worked myself into a nervous breakdown not because I was nervous, because I didn't ever let myself sleep. You know,
yeah.
My body just finally said, you know what, you're going to sit down. I said, no, I'm not. Said, watch this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Sat down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so you at first you think it's cool because you can carry all this weight or everything. Actually, when I hear people now bragging about how many hours they work, I think. You're not, you know, I'm not impressed at all. Like, I would rather you brag about how little hours you work and how much you're spending time doing other things.
Absolutely.
I was that other guy though for a long time. I was so proud of how hard I could work,
Or wait.
I think there's a hustle period, right? Like to get anything started. And when we start a new project, we tweak those hours to put that time into what it takes to build. And so I don't want to take away from that's your instant thing, right? You've got to put the time in, but it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And you have to be committed to pulling yourself back out of that, or you end up, which is where we were, even with the short sale business, where we were making all this money and we were doing all these wonderful things, but
we were working 60, 70 hours a week again.
Yeah, our lives weren't first, right?
Yeah, that was very well put though, Rachel. There's got to be a hustle period. I like that hustle period. Because every business in the world, and this is another clue for like other entrepreneurs. Because one thing entrepreneurs, they see opportunity in everything, and we want to open up a branch and a branch and a branch and an offshoot. And one thing I've learned is everything you decide to take on, any one thing takes everything you've got for a period of time. Maybe that's a year, probably more like 2 years, before you can even start to think, all right, I got the money now, I got it down, I understand it. I'm now going to start putting some people in places so I don't have to break my back so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Is 2 years a fair number, or how long did it take you guys to start getting automated on the second business?
I think when the guy said, what would be impressive if you could do it in 3 hours a day instead of 12 hours a day, that was the first time I had ever thought about that. I told you before we started, I was raised in a brewery family. My dad, my uncle, that business was also a very much 12-hour day shifts, 6 or 7 days a week. You grind, you work. And so that was beat into me from a young age. So like you said, I was proud of that. So that whole concept of working less, I think 4 hours a week is a stretch. We work probably 4 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week is our schedule right now. And it's been that way for a while. I think it really depends on how you set it up to begin with. If you go into it assigning yourself every single job that there is to do in this business, you're going to work 12 hours a day. If you go into
and if you have to do that, though, you need to be documenting what every one of those jobs takes, so that you could at least have a roadmap for the person to try to take it. And you probably have to work 12, 14. I mean, I know when I started out, 16 hours was nothing. I was so on fire with it. I loved it so much that it didn't seem like 16 hours. I was having fun. One of my greatest attributes in my life is I love to work, and you can't tell if I'm working or playing. Am I working or playing right now? I'm talking to two very nice people that are very smart. I'm actually going to be able to get some of their knowledge before this is all over. Am I working? Is this work?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yep.
Less than that way. But I do, you remember when I said, you go to, the human body is the most adaptable thing. What always happened to me was I would just get sick of it. Like I got sick of selling houses. One day I just said, I'm never going to go show a house again today. What do you do now? And the phone's ringing right now to go sell houses. I said, I ain't answering that phone. And I'm not showing a house. It's making me sick to my stomach because I know that this customer, I paid advertising dollars for this person to make this phone ring, but I'm not going to answer that phone. What am I going to do? And then I figured out, it took me a couple of weeks. I probably lost a few sales, but I refused to go sell a house.
Yeah.
Then here's a good analogy. If you two or if I were in a jail cell with a computer and a phone, we'd figure out how to make money from that jail cell, wouldn't we?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So put yourself in a jail.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right. And that's man, you just nailed that on the head of how I think we transitioned ourselves out of those businesses quickly, is because we started to put boundaries in place. For me, it was my health. I was overweight. I had been saying for 10 years, I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to be more healthy, but there was always another appointment. There was always another loan app to take or a seller house to go look at. And so that got killed every day. And one of the first things that my mentor did for me is he's like, you said you wanted to go to the gym. I want you to hire the trainer. I want you to pay him for
It's non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable.
So at 2:30 every day, you go to the gym, and that's the end of your day. So all you have is from 8 or 9 in the morning until 2 to get as much shit done as you can possibly get done.
Isn't that amazing? And then you start to figure it out, right?
Exactly right. I was in a jail cell.
one of the major things about that though is the guilt. I mean, you're so used to being a worker that you seem like you're slacking, right? You seem like you're like at first, right? I mean, I felt that
very
way.
uncomfortable. It was extremely uncomfortable. I mean, you can kind of talk about even that with your family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Rachel is definitely the organized. She's the one that, oversees everything, makes sure everything works. And so her hands are in everything, and she's exceptional at what she does. And so I think it was a really weird feeling for you to step back and trust others with our livelihood,
Yeah. Huge struggle for me. I think getting introduced to that vision and then really being crystal clear of what my why was. Why do I want these businesses? Why are we building these things? What is that bigger purpose besides the money, right? There's always, the money is what everyone says, but there's something so much more than that. And for me, it was really the freedom, but freedom to be the mother that I knew that I wanted to be. And when we went to that event, I was actually pregnant with my first. And so that challenged me and forced me to have to trust and delegate and manage with delegation though, right? I think a lot of people like to delegate, but they don't manage along with it. But it really made me sharpen my skills on finding the right people, A players only, right? And forcing that if they're not the right one, I get the next one in here right away. So that way I could build this team that I knew that I could trust and rely on in order for me to really experience that bigger why, which was that freedom of, I take you to school every day. I pick you up from school. As far as you know, I'm here at all times, although I'm running all these businesses at the same time.
Yeah. So, you probably have spent at periods of time more time together than you have with your families, right?
Yeah.
Working night. So, do you guys ever get in any arguments?
We don't as much anymore.
We used to argue a lot when we've been business partners for 19 years now. We used to fight. I mean, in the mortgage business, it was extremely stressful. I would say that someone was in tears almost on a daily basis, for real, not an exaggeration. I mean, it was extremely stressful environment. But I think that we are so polar opposite in skill set that, she would give me things to do and I wouldn't do them because I suck at them. I'm terrible at them. And she just looked at it like it was,
you don't know how.
That's right. She looked at it like it was laziness. Like, what the hell, man? I could have done that in 5 minutes. And vice versa a little bit, not as much this way going that way, but definitely that way going this way. And I think somewhere along the line, we learned what she is really gifted at and what I'm really gifted at. And I should stay in my lane. She should stay in hers. Do what God put you on this earth to do. Do what you're really, really good at.
You know what my office has learned about me? Don't ever give Mitch Stephen a check or a piece of paper to deliver anywhere.
Yes.
Because it will never make it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will never make it. It will go all around the world, but it won't make it there.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to know you got to know your deficits, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Like, hey, and now I'm putting, and then the whole office starts to know them, and it's like, hey, I'm going by there. I'll take that. No.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hire the courier. Just move along. Mitch.
That's right. You insulate around your weaknesses, right? I mean, that's what
I have a lot of weaknesses. Which actually worked way to my benefit when I finally figured out how to delegate. She says, okay, well, let's delegate what you're weakest at. I'm like, I got a whole long list of I can do.
Right, that's right. We're going to need to hire some more people. Yeah.
Okay, so, man, you guys are really interesting to talk to. I want to do this again maybe, but I would like to talk about that darkest moments and how you handled it and what you were going through, if you don't mind. It's a big request, but if you want to do that, I'll get it rescheduled. So let's talk about your boot camp. What are you offering at this boot camp?
Man, this has really been a labor of love for us. We didn't intend to educate. We were part of a mastermind group and inside that mastermind group, other students in that group were people who owned these things called REIA, like a real estate investor association. I didn't know what they were, but they just said, hey, you guys did 111 houses your first year. Will you come to our group and teach them what you did? And we were like, yeah, I guess. I mean, we don't have a presentation or anything, but we'll come and teach what we did, how we closed 111 houses. And, that was back in probably 2012. And so we started going around to these groups, and then it became like people loved the message and said, well, that was a great 90-minute presentation, but we need to know
more. We want more.
Yeah, we needed a step-by-step what to do. Like step-by-step, tell us what to do. And that's really where REI Blueprint came from, was we wanted to create a blueprint for people that were new at investing, that hadn't done this before. Not a get you excited, get you pumped up, give you half of the stuff that you need to be successful, and then you have to go figure it out on your own, but a real blueprint, a real step-by-step, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you end up at the finish line.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we also, as we were traveling, we encountered so many people that there's a lot of excuses in our industry, right? Well, I can't do this or I can't do that. We let our own personal situations be our reasons.
I got a full-time job. I got kids.
And we thought, man, if you really would, and some people really weren't being taught what to do next. That's people's biggest fear, is not knowing that next step. And I thought, how do we eliminate all of that, right? And the way to eliminate it is, when you get a blueprint for a house, there's no guessing. You follow it, right? And so that's what we did with real estate. And we started with marketing strategies, because you don't have to worry about how you're going to get the money. You don't have to worry about what title company you're going to use or what your business card looks like if you don't ever start your marketing, because you're never going to have a deal, right?
Yeah, I bought a lot of houses before I had a business card and a website. Like
absolutely. Yes.
Like, sometimes people get caught up in all the, I need to set up an LLC. No, you need to have something. You need to make sure this business is going to work for you. Do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 houses. I mean, you don't own anything right now. Don't worry about getting sued right now. No one will sue you because you're broke. So let's get something going first and see if this business is for you. And if you're for the business, in my one-on-one coaching, I have a 45-minute conversation with someone, because, be it 15 or 20 or 25,000 bucks, it's a lot of money for some of these people. It's a lot of money for anybody, but some of them, it's over the top money. It's a life altering money. And I don't want to take that money if I don't think that you're in the right market for the right strategy for whatever I got to give you. If I don't think that, I'll just say, get on the Tuesday night coaching calls. It's only $3,500 and figure out if this business is for you. Make the house by this other level. If you're really any good at it, you'll make enough money and you'll stroke a check and it won't be that big a deal,
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you have naysayer spouses. But I don't take a lot of people one-on-one, because A, I got a life myself, and B, I don't just take everybody. I'm looking for someone that's a good match for what I do and how I am. And not everybody fits that.
That's right.
Some people get mad at me about it, but it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't think I'm the right guy. But so you got this 3-day boot camp, right?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay, so I want everyone to go to reinvestorsummit.com/Jason Rachel. That's JASONRACHEL. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah.
I want to make sure. So /Jason Rachel, you'll be able to learn more and all the details about it. But you want to do kind of a 1,000-foot overview, what's going to happen in those 3 days?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of break down the five? We teach the 5 stages of real estate investing. We kind of got our name in the education space from the marketing that we teach. So we teach some, for real, world-class marketing stuff that you're not going to probably find anywhere else. Stuff that's going to pull in the 10 to 20% response rate, not 1% like direct mail. So that's even for the experienced people that are listening, the guys that are doing 5, 10, 20 transactions a month, I guarantee you the marketing that we teach is going to provide a huge increase in your business.
Absolutely.
It's all about the marketing. Doesn't even matter what business you're in. I don't care what it's about. You're either a marketer or you're not. And the better marketer you are, the better your business is.
That's right. Got to make the phone ring.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of talk about the 5 stages that we teach over the 3 days?
Right. We start out with the marketing strategies, because that's where everything needs to start at. We go through 4 different strategies. And like Jason said, some of them you may heard, some of them are really unique. What's unique is our multi-touch lead exhaustion that we teach, right? And then we break into how to evaluate the deal. We also now are lenders to other real estate investors. And so we really have a good pulse on most of the markets in the country and understanding what a property is really worth and your numbers, you have to know them, right?
Yeah.
And so we think that's imperative that you get a blueprint for how to actually evaluate and look at it.
How to evaluate repairs. What does it cost to do a new
Yes.
kitchen? What does it cost to do countertops? And then, evaluating the deal itself. How do you know what the after repair value is? How do you know
So is how to evaluate the deals number 2 and how to evaluate the rehab number 3?
that we kind of lump that in number 2. So evaluating the deal, really covers analyzing the property itself, analyzing the repairs.
Yeah. We dive into running the homeowner appointment.
That's
as
number
well.
3. Number 3 is the homeowner appointment, step by step, how to communicate with the seller, how to position yourself with the seller. We have a really cool process after thousands of homeowner appointments. You start to kind of learn what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of fear built around that. And then we get into exit strategies and finding the money. Everyone's always super concerned about where they're going to find the money. And a lot of people don't understand what your best way to exit out of a deal is what's best for you in this current situation that you're in.
So talk to them about, for those that don't know, exit strategy. What do you mean by that?
So we talk about wholesaling, lease optioning,
Rehab.
your traditional rehab, getting in and out. We talk about some wholetailing in there too, because we did a ton of that when we first got started because our risk was so limited with that. But then everything you need to know when you go to get money from somebody, because you need to be vetting these people. Yeah. And then just overall deal due diligence, which I guess the money probably goes in that deal due diligence, the kind of closing and finding the money, title companies to work with, things like that.
Okay, so number 3 was the homeowner appointment. Number 4 was exit strategy and funding, and number 5 was?
Number 4 is exit strategy. So we're diving into every possible exit strategy. Number 5 was finding the money, closing the deal.
Okay.
Sorry, I lump them bad.
No, that's all right. I just want to make sure I got it straight here.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of it all.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to point out, a lot of times though, people are afraid to go into the marketing or all that other stuff because they think they don't have the money, and that's exactly wrong, right? Like, it's the deal that brings the money.
And my first mentor, when I was wiped out, when I was Chapter 7 bankrupt with all that shit, the very first thing he said to me was, Jason, when you find a deal, the money will show up. And I remember almost laughing in his face and saying, yeah, that's real easy for you to say, man, after you've done hundreds of deals and you got hundreds of thousands of dollars in your checking account. Of course, people give you money. People don't give money to 350 credit scores and judgments and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, no, you're all confused. You're so used to traditional mortgage lending where they're looking at pay stubs and bank statements and W-2s. This is a different world. Hard money lenders or private money lenders, they're looking at the deal, dude. And I couldn't wrap my head around that.
I'm very passionate about this because one of the things we do as a coach sometimes, one of the most important things we will ever do is unwind someone and rewind them from a different point of view and change their limiting belief system. And that's one of the things. I have a course called Private Money Changes Everything. I have $24 million worth of private money from about 32 people.
Awesome.
It's not about you, it's about the deal. I mean, I've said this before, and I won't belabor the whole thing, but Charles Manson should have been able to get money from the warden for the kind of deals I bring. If Charles Manson had the deal I had, he could have put his face to the bar and told the warden about it, and the warden would have loaned him the money, because the warden's either going to get paid as agreed, or he's going to get this piece of property that's even a better deal than getting paid as agreed. So it don't really matter how many people Manson murdered. It doesn't.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I need to quit using that analogy because it's kind of gross.
It's an interesting analogy. But it does bring it home.
Yeah.
All right. So I want you to go to reinvestorsummit.com/Jason Rachel. Jason, Jason, Rachel, Rachel. Get over there into the show notes. We'll probably have, this thing will probably expand. Once my people talk to their people, they'll probably get a whole bunch of goodies over there, maybe even some giveaways or some things that'll help you in your business that you won't have to pay for, but also give you an explanation of the boot camp. When is it?
May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in St. Louis, Missouri, and
in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee,
Yep.
Wisconsin. And people start to say, the live seminar, fly to the seminar thing is dead with the advent of Zoom and all this other stuff. And it's simply not true, because there's one thing you can't replicate in a conversation like this or online, is you can't replicate the energy of the audience and what you learn and what you get, how you bring everything together at a table, at lunch or at dinner or at the pool or wherever you're at, talking to the other attendees about what was going on and their life experiences compared to your life experiences, and it all starts to mesh. And that's how you'll never replace going to a real seminar.
Man, nobody can.
Half of the thing is the people in the audience and the connections and the networks that you make. I still have lifelong relationships with the very first people I met at the first seminar I ever went to 24 years ago.
Man, I totally agree with you. Number one, there's no way you can keep your attention for 8 hours on a Zoom call. It just doesn't happen. You're at home, you got a million distractions. There's no way you're really absorbing that. Number two, like you said, the network. We had almost 200 people at our last boot camp in January, just a couple months ago, that came in from all over the country. We did it in KC, and it was freaking awesome. But the funny thing is, we've been doing these 3-day events. We do them 3 times a year, and there's a group of it's up to 15 or 16 of them now that they met at some boot camp we did a couple years ago, and now they all travel together and they come. I mean, they do deals together. They loan each other money.
They vacation together, probably.
Yeah. They do.
And this is another form of vacation that you can write off because you're going someplace that,
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you guys are really fantastic to talk to. I love your energy. So I want you guys to check out, you're going to learn about the multi-touch lead generation, how to evaluate deals, which, by the way, is one of the number one assets you can have. If you can't figure out how to evaluate what a deal is worth pretty quick, sitting out in front of the property or within a few minutes, then you need to go back and just stop everything till you figure that out, in my humble opinion. And then how to evaluate the repairs, which is always tenuous. I mean, there's a reason why contractors begins with the word CON. Home owner appointment, how that's supposed to run, what the goal is, how you get into the conversation you want to have, and how you present your offer without offending people, or how to negotiate, really, these things. Number 4, exit strategies. And there's a lot of different exit strategies. You may learn to become a house whisperer, and a lot of times the house will tell you what it needs to do, what has to happen. Right. Regardless of what you want to do, the house is screaming, "Just flip me, I'm trouble."
Yeah.
Other times it's like, "Fix me up, I'll be worth a lot more money." And then last but not least, finding the funding. It's not as difficult as you might think. Totally. But like everything else, you got to become a student of it and immerse yourself in it. And that's what a 3-day boot camp's really good for, immersion.
That's exactly what it is.
Set yourself aside for 3 days and immerse yourself. And if nothing else, figure out what you think's possible and figure out the other sides that you think, I'm going to really have trouble with this because A, I just don't believe. So then you say, okay, well, that's what you got to go get help on. Those ones, the things that you don't believe in. And because once you believe in something, it's almost done now.
That's right. Yeah, it all starts up here, man. So many people are looking for mechanics, and the majority of it's what you believe you can accomplish and what you believe you can make happen.
Okay, so anything we should add before maybe we wrap it up right now?
I don't think so. We just love to see our 3 days are the favorite thing that we do. We don't bring any other outside selling speakers. There's not people hammering you to buy stuff. It's 3 full days of content. It's very interactive. I mean, we're just super proud of it. It's definitely a labor of love for us, and it's our favorite thing that we do, just watching people's lives transform and change through real estate and just a different way of life. Like Rachel said, being able to experience freedom. We've taken so many people out of corporate America to where they've gotten rid of a 60-hour work week job. They make $200,000 or $300,000 a year in real estate investing, working 20 hours a week, and it's transformed their lives. It's transformed their marriages. It's so cool to witness. So I hope to see you guys there.
That's the higher reason, right? Because like you said earlier, Rachel, the money, now people that don't have money, this is, to them, it's not registering, right? No, I get it. Because once upon a time, someone says, it's not about the money. And I'm going, horse pucky.
Money's great though.
Yeah. But after a while, one of the most disappointing days in my entire life was the day that I had life-altering issues, and it didn't matter how much money I had. It wasn't going to fix this problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to, and my money couldn't make me happy because of some things that were going on. And I realized that money only went to a certain point. And then at some point, to keep going, you have to have a higher reason.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that, for me, is the same. One of the reasons is the same as yours. I have helped a lot of people call in and tell their boss they no longer need their services. And that's my big thing. Dale Ramsey, you get debt free, you ring the bell. At my house, or do the primal scream. Around here, we ring the bell when you tell your boss he's no longer necessary.
Same.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's very emotional sometimes, and that's my high. That's my high. And I get that's what you're saying too. And it is very real. So if you're out there doubting it, I'm telling you, it's very real. One guy told me the only thing money would ever really buy you is freedom of movement. If you need to be at a funeral tomorrow because you just found out, it'll get you there, but you won't be happy. You know what I mean? So the only thing it can really do is give you freedom of movement. You can be where you want to be when you need to be. And, that's the biggest thing that it buys you is freedom of movement. And I guess there's a lot to be said for that, but the higher reason is always the best. All right, you guys, go to reinvestorsummit.com/Jason Rachel, Jason Rachel. Get to the show notes. And Jason, Rachel, my pleasure. My folks will get with your folks. We'll round out that. We'll round out that show notes section and get everything we need in there. And hopefully, by the way, it's evergreen. So like when this one passes and you want to go put in another date, we can put in another date. And I'll just tell everybody here, if it's past May the 3rd, 4th, what was it?
1st through the 3rd.
1st through the 3rd, still go to the show notes because there's another one, they said 3 times a year. So we'll try to.
We actually have 4 more this year. So
yeah, we're excited.
We'll keep it current, so.
Absolutely. Thank
you.
you.
Always the same place?
No, we go all over the country. So we've got Atlanta. We've got, is it South Carolina?
Maybe, yeah.
We've got Ohio, I think. And Milwaukee.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let me know when you come to San Antonio.
I will.
Yeah, we will. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
This was fun.
Yeah, this was awesome.
This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to get you some Jason Roberts and Rachel Schneider. Also, I want to thank taxfreefuture.com. Please go there. If you do not fully understand the power of tax-deferred or tax-free retirement funds or accounts, they're incredible. Watch the 37 little video vignettes. You just got to give us a little microform there with some information. We promise not to beat you up with a bunch of crap, and you'll be excited to see them. All right, you guys, we're out of here. Bye now.
Take care.
Bye.